Hi, my name is Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'll be running through the candidates who've made it over the first hurdle in the race to succeed Jeremy Corbyn as leader of the Labour Party, and importantly for many outside of the Labour Party, leader of the opposition to Boris Johnson's government. But first, if you'd like to receive notification of daily news and political commentary, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, that first hurdle to get over for the Labour leadership candidates was getting the support of 22 Labour MPs or MEPs. We do still have some MEPs at the moment, not for very much longer. And the deadline for this was the Monday just gone. So it has now been decided, the first stage at any rate. Now, there was a bit, on my part at least, an expectation that we might get 6 candidates, but it's ended up being just 5. So we've got Sir Keir Starmer, he led the way with 88 nominations, followed by Rebecca Long-Bailey with 33, Lisa Nandy with 31, and Jess Phillips and Emily Thornberry with 23 nominations each. Thornberry was not leading into the weekend. There were only 4 candidates confirmed by the weekend. Emily Thornberry was not one of them. She hadn't got up to the 22 required until Clive Lewis, who was another leadership hopeful, pulled out because he had far too few nominations. So he pulled out in order to help Thornberry get over the line so that there would at least be another candidate. And as I say, I thought it was a little unexpected. There were a number of Labour MPs in the days leading up to this deadline that had not given their nominations to anyone. And I looked and I thought, well, maybe they're just seeing how the lay of the land is and then split their nominations between those two so that we end up with those 6. In fact, when you consider the total number of nominations that now exists, it comes to 198, which is a bit over a dozen short of the number of nominations possible. So, yeah, there are a bit over a dozen MPs, MEPs that haven't nominated anyone. But when it came down to it at the end, the number that didn't nominate anyone was not enough to get both Thornberry and Clive Lewis over the line. Not quite, anyway. Now, I personally felt it was a little bit of a shame because a leadership contest, now, you could look at it in 2 ways. You could look at it as, well, this is the contest to decide who should become the Labour leader, in which case, quite frankly, only 3 of the candidates have any business being there. But there is another purpose to it as well, and that is that with candidates all representing different points of view, you can have a real debate about the future of the Labour Party. Now, this has actually cost us in the past because the reason why Jeremy Corbyn ended up becoming leader in the first place, because he had to go through the same process. He had to get nominations from Labour MPs, and he basically he had no chance of getting enough of them. And the only reason he was able to get enough was because there were Labour MPs who thought, well, we don't want him to be leader. I mean, that would be ridiculous. He'd be rubbish. But he represented points of view that they wanted debating, because this is the key thing, to try and bear in mind. A lot of what Jeremy Corbyn stands for policy-wise, very popular amongst the members of the public, but certainly within the Labour Party. It's just that he himself is bog useless. That was essentially the problem. So yeah, we have been bitten on the arse with putting forward candidates just to get a debate going. But I don't think there would have been quite the same risk with these. But anyway, little look at the candidates that we now have. Now, I would put them into 3 tiers, 3 groups. So in the top tier, you've got Sir Keir Starmer and Rebecca Long-Bailey. These are the clear front runners. The next leader of the Labour Party is almost certain to be one of these 2. Long-Bailey is the preferred candidate of those who saw nothing wrong with what Labour did over the past few years. She's even gone as far as to say she would give Jeremy Corbyn's leadership a score of 10 out of 10. Starmer is the preferred candidate for those who want Labour to stick with a committed socialist agenda. In other words, support those policies, but change literally everything else in terms of the way the party has conducted itself over the last few years. Second, the next tier is for what I would call rank outsiders. Now, there's only one person in this, to my mind, is Jess Phillips. And that's because I don't believe she has anything like enough support to realistically win. But you never know, there might be some mad things happen. She doesn't really have the support of any major group or faction, But she has started to earn herself a bit of a public profile, and she is sufficiently distinguished from the other two frontrunners to stand out from them. And then in the third tier, I would put the ones who are basically making up the numbers, essentially. I know some people may think it's a little bit rude to dismiss candidates before a contest has properly begun, but let's be serious. Lisa Nandy has virtually no public profile. You ask someone on the street who's Lisa Nandy, like, is she a singer? I don't know. Even amongst the Labour membership, a lot of people will now know the name because she's put herself forward for the leadership. But a lot of them, if they're honest, didn't really know who she was, and even now don't really know who she is. They don't know what she stands for, anything like that. She's entering the contest, no doubt, to raise her profile for a longer game. As for Thornberry, I'm not entirely sure why she's in the competition at all. I really don't get it. If at the start, she thought she might become leader, and she held a reasonably senior position under Jeremy Corbyn, fair enough, but now surely she could see she's got no chance. I don't mean, I'm not saying this because she's not what I think is the best choice. She has no chance in this contest. She only got herself nominated for the next stage by another candidate dropping out. So this is the sort of candidate that, like Lisa Nandy, although she did get support without needing someone else to drop out, is the sort of thing you do when you're trying to raise your profile for the future. But she's not. She is held as high an office under Jeremy Corbyn as she could hope to under the next leader, and she isn't going to raise her profile any higher than it already is. But anyway, those are the candidates. So before I briefly go over each of them and what my initial thoughts, very brief thoughts are, without going into details, it is worth explaining the next stage. So we've now got another month before the next stage is, and that is when the candidates, they've now got the support they needed from MPs and MEPs. They now have to get support from affiliated unions and or constituency Labour parties, local Labour groups. And that support has to be forthcoming by February the 14th, because on February the 14th, Valentine's Day, the final list for the ballot will be issued. So essentially you need, I don't know about what proportion it is for the unions, but a couple of unions will usually swing it, or 33 constituency Labour parties nominating you. So any of them, if all of them manage to get that, and it is numerically possible, then they could all find themselves on the ballot. Again, I'm going to have a little guess here and suggest that probably Emily Thornberry will not be on the ballot. The others may be. All of the others may be. Rebecca Long-Bailey and Sir Keir Starmer definitely will be. But that support, as I say, has to be stated by the 14th of February, because on the 14th of February, that's when the list is announced. So, candidates. Sir Keir Starmer. He is the candidate that Momentum and the other Corbyn dinosaurs are most fearing. Not because he represents a shift to the centre, though they are trying to smear him as much. No, it's because they can't control him. He is a proven political organiser and has been from a young man all the way through. And extremely intelligent. He has a lot of strings to his bow, a lot of feathers in his cap, whatever you want to call it. He's formerly the country's top prosecutor. He is not going to be in thrall of the very people whose strategy led to the party being where it is now. But he has a strong socialist history that blows away the achievements of all the other candidates put together. When you're trying to come up with achievements for other candidates, you're really scraping around. He has got loads of them, both in the Labour Party, organising youth Labour groups from when he was very, very young, all the way through to now, to becoming an MP, which has not been for that long. And he's also raised himself a very significant public profile as the shadow Brexit secretary as well. He's talked positively about changing the party in all of the ways that address the criticisms that Labour faced under Corbyn, whilst at the same time being completely committed to the general policies, and it's not even a commitment. It's not like some people might try and bill it as a concession. It's not a concession. He believes in them. That's why he agreed to serve under Corbyn's leadership. He's been supported by Unison, which is one of the very big unions. Now, it has been a little bit controversial, that, because it seems that the normal procedures for polling members to say who should we support hasn't been carried out. So I'm not really sure whether the backing is the official Unison backing, which I would have thought did need members balloted, Or is it just the backing of the leadership? Is it just Unison saying, we recommend that you back Sir Keir Starmer and there's to be a members ballot later? I don't know. I don't know the situation. I'm not a member of Unison. If someone is, maybe you could help me. But the formal nomination doesn't have to be in until mid-February anyway. But there certainly seems to be a bit of confusion about what's going on here. Rebecca Long-Bailey, she is Momentum's preferred candidate. She is likely to be the Unite Union's preferred candidate as well. It's the other big one due to their leader's closeness to Corbyn. She is seen as the Corbyn continuity candidate, which would be reason enough for me to never put her down, or I'll have to put her down somewhere, but it'll be in last place. And that is because that's exactly what she's going to be called outside of Labour as well. You know, if she became leader, the champagne corks would be popping in Downing Street and Conservative Party HQ, let me tell you. Before her career as an MP, she had a legal background, a bit like Sir Keir Starmer. Not nearly as illustrious, of course. She worked as a solicitor, though did get into trouble a few years ago for embellishing her career, trying to make out that she had much more experience than she actually did. She hasn't really done anything of note. You know, she has no achievements to her name at all. Whether in the party or in general, that make her stand out from any other MP. Obviously, she has become her local constituency's candidate, so she's stood out amongst them. And she's become an MP, but she's done nothing that makes her stand out from any other MP. And being, you know, put into Corbyn's shadow cabinet is not an achievement. An achievement is something that you do that's good for other people, not for your own career. When I'm talking about achievements, that's what I mean. So yeah, she doesn't have anything that makes her stand out from any other MP in the party, let alone leadership candidate. That she is in the top tier of candidates, only one of two as I see it, is entirely down to her malleability by those who prize control of Labour and have no interest in seeing the party in government. Indeed, the leader of Momentum referred to a Labour government as wilderness years. Jess Phillips, who's in my second tier there, very outspoken on a number of topics and has attracted more than her fair share of abuse on social media. It is a common enough fact of life for women in politics, sadly, but Phillips is very in your face, so you can imagine she gets a lot of abuse from the misogynists. However, although her attitude of always wearing her heart on her sleeve appeals to some people, for me, to hold high office, it is reckless. A lot of politics matters in terms of what you say. Look at the damage the likes of Donald Trump and Boris Johnson have done when they've opened their mouth. We don't really need that of a Labour leader. We need someone who thinks things through. Yes, being a bit fiery is good, but you need to think about what you're saying. I think she needs more experience at the very least and some mentoring in how to think of things. As leader, I would fear that the Tory supporting media would find her almost as easy pickings as Rebecca Long-Bailey. But she is also the most aggressively anti-Corbyn and so stands out amongst those who are maybe on the centre-left and just want someone who takes a completely different direction to Jeremy Corbyn. Okay, you're not going to get that with Rebecca Long-Bailey. In fact, you're not going to get any change at all with her. You're not going to get a change on policy with Sir Keir Starmer. You are going to get a big change in how the Labour Party does things, however. But if someone wants a complete change, then Jess Phillips may pick up some support. I don't think it will be enough, though, so I still don't consider her a front-runner. Lisa Nandy has no real public profile at all, as I've said. No, not much experience in office, not enough. As such, the job of transforming the party machine would mean she would have to rely heavily on a lot of advice, and who knows if she knows who the right people to trust with that are. But she hasn't shied away from identifying the key factors in the general election defeat. She hasn't tried to dance around it. She's recognised that the policies themselves were not unpopular. It's just that people did not trust Jeremy Corbyn to be able to deliver on them responsibly. She's identified that as that has been the key change needed. Pursue the general themes, but in a credible way. Explain to people how it's going to be done. But that doesn't help her stand out from Starmer. She's done a lot of work in political and social research before becoming an MP, acted as an advisor in a number of roles as well. As such, she has got a lot more useful experience than many of the other candidates. But with a less egotistical leader, Nandy would probably have had a bit more of a public profile. She would, I think, have been much more heavily involved in frontline politics now. But she had to step down and refuse to carry on under Corbyn in any sort of shadow ministerial role due to the abuse she was suffering for not acknowledging Corbyn as the super awesome god of everything, basically. As for Thornberry, it seems a bit crap to just be so dismissive of a candidate, but I cannot help it. She is far too divisive. She doesn't really have a lot of achievements either, nothing to really sing about. I've agreed with her on some things and I've disagreed with her on others. It's got nothing to do with where she stands on certain issues. But the key issue for me is that the leader has to bring people together. Labour is very fractured right now. Has to be able to bring people together. And that's going to be difficult enough. She is not the sort of person that does that. We've tried having a leader who operates a clique and tells everyone else to piss off. That didn't really work. Actually, it worked out really well for the Conservatives, but it's not worked so well for Labour. We don't really need to try another leader that'll do the same thing. So that's my little quick rundown. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As and when the leadership election heats up, then I will follow through with more updates as well. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please click the Patreon link for details as well. And until next time, I'll see you later.